Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, July 22, 2021. We are back with Delic Holdings. Let me just put up the banner. What happened to the banner?
It was up there before.
It was up there. It was up there before. What happened to the banner? Okay, so where is our banner for Delic? Here we go. Okay, Delic Holdings. There we go. Okay. So welcome everybody back to our program. Our goal is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. Companies going after multi-billion-dollar opportunities at a key inflection point and with multiple catalysts built into the stock, which could ignite that shareholder value. With that said, Delic is definitely meets all three of those in the right space, the psychedelic space. Multiple catalysts, which we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about one of the big catalysts. I think it's a big catalyst. And of course, the company's at this inflection point where, you got the clinics and everything else. So, Matt, welcome back.
Thank you. How are you?
Okay. I want to get into, I wanted to kind of dive into today's news, which I think is very significant. I don't think investors really understand how important it is. From like the marketing, the big picture perspective, but I think this is like one of the most important announcements they've had besides the acquisitions of the clinics and the lab. I don't know if you agree or not, but it's just
I do. I think it's going to be a really incredible. What we're talking about, guys, is Meet Delic, 2021 happening in Las Vegas, and we just announced our business lineup, and it's really just incredible. We have 30 people who are incredibly powerful across different aspects of the industry, from the husband and wife team that developed psilocybin for FDA use to the woman who built the world's largest psychedelic VR engine.
But this is just I should say it's like a trade show conference. It's really a conference, right?
It's a conference. Yeah, it is the first ever of its kind. It's a psychedelic wellness education and entertainment. We call it edutainment because we like to be playful here, but it is everything psychedelic in one place, at a place that is already probably the most psychedelic venue you've ever seen, a place called Area 15 in Las Vegas that they spent hundreds of millions of dollars building, and it is a giant Burning Man mall, so the whole place looks like you're.
That's the Burning Man mall. That's a good kind of this. Okay, the elevator. Yeah,
it feels like you're at Burning Man, and you're also at an incredibly high-end mall right off the Las Vegas Strip. So It's kind of incredible.
Okay, so basically, here's why I think this is really important, and we're going to talk about some of the speakers you have and all that other stuff, because this event is going to get. It's the first of its kind event. The first event of its kind focused on the psychedelic space, the business, the educational aspect, the whole kind of ecosystem. And how many people are you expecting at this event?
Yeah, we're looking at about 10,000 people across 2 days.
A lot of people.
It is, and it's right. The reason we're doing it in Las Vegas, it just is a center
place. Where else?
Yeah, it's the place. It's the place to have a large conference, right? You bring together people from all over the country, even the world, even with COVID.
And they're excited. They're excited to be back in Vegas. That's the place. I mean, they're not going to go to Newark, New Jersey for a psychedelic conference.
Exactly. They're going to a place where there's plentiful hotels, great stuff to do, and just, it's easy to get to from anywhere because obviously the casinos subsidize all the rides. So, they make it very very affordable to have people come in and enjoy themselves. And so we're really super excited about just bringing together people from across the country and the world to really learn more about psychedelics as they develop. So, for us, it's really making Delic the center point of psychedelics and psychedelic wellness in America, and bringing together the best in class across all of it, across science, culture, business, technology, just everything and anything you can imagine as it intersects with the world of psychedelic wellness. Those people will be there, and really kind of talking in a way that's not, let's say, dry. We're trying to bring people together in a way that is interesting, fun, and gives people who come a really great experience.
Okay, and I think I should add, for anybody that doesn't know, you were the publisher of High Times magazine, which was like the publication for the cannabis business from before it was legal.
Exactly. Well,
so the media side, you know how to do this. This is not like some guy just saying, hey, I'm going to try. I mean, this is basically what you know how to do.
Yeah, well, I brought the Cannabis Cup to America and got 50,000 people to come to these events to really kind of understand as cannabis went from black to gray to white in a very similar style as what's happening with psychedelics. So we think there's an opportunity and a moment now to bring people together in a really interesting way. And so that's our focus.
And this is part, okay, so there's three aspects to Delic Holdings. Okay, I think that's why you have the name Delic Holdings, right? You have three, as far as I'm right, you have three parts. You have the clinics, right, which is the ketamine, the clinics, which is going to be a huge part of the business. You're going to roll. We'll kind of recap that. You have the clinics, you have the lab, which develops kind of proprietary formulations, CPG products like the what do you call it? Inhalable mushroom?
Mushroom vaporizer.
Vaporization, all that
contract research for other large organizations looking.
And they're all generating. So all those things are generating. They're all all generating revenues.
That's right.
And then you have the media side of Delic, which is you have the what is it called? The Reality Sandwich, which is
a website for information and news around psychedelics, and that gets a couple 400,000 people a month coming to find out more about psychedelics. And then the other side of this media is the media business is this event, and we think it's just a great way to bring people together and just make us the kind of leading voice in psychedelics, right? We think that having that center point and having that lightning rod to pull all this energy towards gives us incredible deal flow, incredible opportunities, incredible vision and sight into what's happening in psychedelics. And, being the place that people come together always gives great opportunity.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think to me, I think the most significant aspect of this is what you just said now is that, number one, it really brands you as essentially the thought leader or the kind of the leader in the psychedelic space, the authority in the psychedelic space. And you're going to have essentially anybody who's anybody in the psychedelic space is going to be there. So it gives you the branding, and then most importantly, as far as I'm concerned, is the deal flow, because you're going to basically have everybody there. They're going to see Delic. It's different when you're doing it. It's it's a different thing than when you just call up a guy on the phone and say, hey, I want to buy your mushroom company, whatever. It puts you on a kind of a different level. And the other thing is, these things actually can make a lot of money. I mean, the conference business is a great business. I mean, I don't know, what could this generate? I mean, a couple $1 million. I mean, whether it's this event or
Yeah, well, I think that's exactly right. When I was at High Times, the conference business was generating about $20 million a year. So
$20 million a year.
Yeah, it was a very real business.
And that's cannabis. How much? Okay, that's interesting. So, how much do you think the psychedelics conference business can generate? Your events business.
It really depends on how much the industry scales out, right? It's all down to industry macro trends, but we think that there's a whole lot of growth potential coming across all these different sub facets of psychedelics. And so, we think this is a real multi-million-dollar business, and we think it just has incredible competitive advantages for us across all of those different pieces that we talked about, across just being that thought leader, having the deal flow, having the bringing the people together and creating that the creative capital kind of the thing that capitalism is good for and events are good for, and especially conferences, bringing people together and creating new businesses, new opportunities, and being a part of them because you're the one who kind of oversees it all, right? So
right, yeah. So this is it's an incredible opportunity. So let's get into the details of the event. Who's you're gonna have? It's gonna be 2 days, right?
That's right.
And what are you gonna have? Give us anybody that people would know, like some of the name brand guests.
Yeah, so we have Aubrey Marcus, who's Joe Rogan's partner in his supplement business. So he's kind of speaking for that wellness side of things. We have Duncan Trussell, who had a top 10 show on Netflix a couple months ago. Has one of the most popular podcasts in the world.
Is Joe Rogan going to be there? Is Joe Rogan coming?
I don't know. He is not officially speaking, but some of his friends will be there, so we'll see.
Because he's a what do you call it? He's a mix. Oh, it was the UFC. He's a that's a big.
So he's a big, and he's a big fan of psychedelics on his own.
Yeah. Have you ever tried DMT?
Yeah, exactly. And then we have Jason Silva, who is the host of a National Geographic show, famous, kind of thought leader, really interesting. We have so many amazing people. We have Dr. Carl Hart, who's been in every newspaper for the last 6 months for writing a book on how to do drugs for grown-ups. And both love him and hate him. He's been a best-selling author and brilliant at what he does. We have, as I said, the founders of Compass, the folks who are in the process of making psilocybin an FDA legal drug. So they're putting in their phase 3 clinical trials right around when we have this going. We have the folks who ran the initiative in Oregon to legalize mushrooms there. It's people from across this world. We have the manager of the Grateful Dead coming. We have, just a really wonderful kind of cross section of the world of culture, art, and science around this stuff. So I think people are going to be who are interested in what's happening in psychedelics now are going to want to be there because they're going to see and hear a bunch of really interesting conversations. And I think there's virtual is great. I love I'm glad we're on here speaking virtually, but there's nothing like in person for really breaking those boundaries and having that serendipitous interaction and the ability to find new and wonderful things and hear things that people might not have said if they're sitting at home on their computer, but if they're together and happy and relaxed, things happen, magic happens. And I'm a really true believer in that. So I think it's going to be pretty fantastic.
So it's interesting. So this is that third, part of this. This is the third leg of this stool of the psychedelic stool. So it's really, essentially Delic is one of the few pure play psychedelics companies that is, you're starting to revenue. So you have, and we'll dive into that. You got the clinic side of the business. We'll talk about. I'll let you kind of recap the revenue side there. You got the lab business. Now you have the media side of the business. And one thing I think maybe you should bring up again later is the, how the whole thing ties in with the website. People, that with the research and that's. So there's a whole. It's not just a simple media. There's a whole
ecosystem,
database. There's a lot involved in this, which. It all essentially, I think of kind of Delic almost as essentially it's a pure play on psychedelics and covering various different facets of it in a way.
Yeah, that's what we're doing is putting together something that we think is really helpful for everyone to access psychedelic wellness. As you said, we have the media side, which allows people to kind of discover, so they can search on Google or on some organic search. They find our site, they look up more, they can come to the event and experience it in person, and then they can go to our clinics and try psychedelic wellness in real life, legally, safely, and efficiently. And we think that that's just such an interesting ecosystem that no one's built yet, and really gives us a huge competitive advantage. And as you said, I think each of these is a revenue generating business. We're not looking 20 years down the line or 10 years down the line for something to be $1 billion business. We're looking at 1 or 2 years down the line for this to be tens of millions of dollar business, right? And I think, you just look at the clinic business, as we said last time we spoke, we're on trend and on track to get up to more than a dozen of these things and generate, millions of dollars in revenue there. The lab business is doing, call it, over $1 million run rate and keeping expanding. As you said, the event business is a $1 million business, and we just think all of these things together, not only do they generate revenue, but they reinforce each other and reinforce that the business, right? It brings more people. The more people who see it, the more people.
It's a virtuous cycle. It's a flywheel. You have the whole flywheel going. And
exactly, we're building a real flywheel. And like you said, we have this media portal that we are using to capture data, right? So as we build it out, we'll be capturing more and more data. And as we create our own IP and release those products to the world, people will be able to then input data into the front end of our media portfolio, and then we're able to capture really interesting longitudinal data on how stuff affects people. That it is quantity-wise and quality-wise the same as what people would get if they were doing a clinical trial. So we really think it's a very interesting way to get to that kind of data and that level of IP development without having to spend hundreds of millions of dollars and make $0, right? And we think that's going to be a very interesting thing over the next 2 years as other people are still stuck in neutral and we're growing exponentially.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of demand for this, this data that you have from these pharmaceutical companies. Nobody else has it. This is like, and you essentially, and again, this event, you're doing these events, the media side that reinforces Delic as the, as the authority in the space.
Yeah, exactly, and that's been our push all along since we founded it 3 years ago, was to help mainstream psychedelic wellness and be that center point for people looking to understand, learn more, and really just experience it, right? And I think it's just more and more. I get this every couple of days. Someone's seen a study or seen a report or seen a thing in the Times, and they're like, how, what, where? Because this seems amazing, and there seems like there's no treatment for my anxiety or my depression or my PTSD, but now people are saying there is. What do I do? How do I find it? Because people, they hear about it. It's out there in the ether, but no one knows who to trust to actually do it for them. And that's really what we're building in that flywheel is authoritative domain authority, right? So that when people go looking, and we have, a dozen, 2 dozen clinics, they know, okay, well, these guys are running the top show in the space. They have the best website in the space, and they have a place for us to go try it. That seems smart, easy, and kind of a no-brainer, right? And that's when it comes down to trusting your wellness with someone. You want to have some ability to understand why they're doing it right? And so that's what we think is super important, is building that out.
Yeah, no, you have it's pretty interesting that you have this, you have this flywheel, you have the whole psychedelic ecosystem in one package. Like, I'm looking at this from like an investor standpoint. Look, the psychedelic space, it's still building. It's kind of where cannabis was early on. Like, first you had this big run up, then it kind of came down, and now I think it's going to get ready for the next big wave. And at that point, I think investors are going to be looking for, okay, where, which one is the pure play? Where can I place a bet, and which gives me kind of the most bang for the buck? And I think with Delic, if you have these 3 aspects, whether it's, in a worst case situation, because you have these 3 different components of the business, at least one of them could be worth a lot of money, right? I'm sure obviously they're all generating revenues, but you have multiple shots on goal. Like, at any point, one of these businesses could really break out. So it's really something where people can get, like, okay, if they want exposure to the psychedelic space, here's one stock that they could buy for, what is it, 30 cents now?
Exactly. It's somewhere in that 27 cents.
It's the summer sale going on. Question: how many shares outstanding, fully diluted?
I think at this point we're at about. See, there's a multiple voting share structure for the American holders, so it's hard to do the fully diluted. I think it's around 60 million, maybe 70 million, depending on how you slice it.
Okay, so worst case, 20 million valuation right now.
Yeah, exactly.
$20 million valuation, and your run rate right now basically is. I don't know. It's hard to, because you get the labs. You get the clinics, you get the labs, which are already generated. You got the event.
Yeah, we're on a couple $1 million run rate right now. And keep, as we build out the clinic business, you're going to see that hockey stick up quite a lot.
Okay. What do you think? I mean, do you want to? What do you think you can exit this year, 2020? You're in a calendar year. You're in a calendar fiscal year.
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to exit? What kind of run rate are you going to exit 21 at?
Based on all the stuff I'm seeing, call it an $8-9 million run rate, something like that.
8-9 million run rate. Okay. So I think So I mean, the stock could trade 10-20x that by December. I mean, because it's forward looking. So
exactly. I think
160 million. Okay.
As we grow and people see the execution on what we've talked about, I think people will feel like they're going to miss the boat if they don't get in, right? Because it just as it compounds, as the growth compounds, people just see that they're missing out on a real growth stock, and I think that's really impressive for folks.
Okay. Let's last question. What's what other kind of news flow can we expect to see from Delic in the next 30 days? Hopefully we'll have you back on sooner, but what can we see in the next 30 days? Or before September, let's say it's 30, 60 days.
Sure. So I think some more stuff from the labs that's really interesting. We've got a couple of big things brewing, and some really nice action on the clinic side. So I'll be back to talk about that as we really show our path to that dozen or more clinics, and some more stuff on this event. I really think more people and more amazing kind of high level stuff happening in our center point event in Las Vegas. So you'll see me again in the next couple of weeks with some great announcements. And I think as that news flow comes out, people will start to really see we're executing on what we say we are, and that growth will just keep building.
On that note, I want to thank you, and look forward to having you on very soon.
Thank you so much. A great one, Jack.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We'll see you in the next one.